and thank you for checking out the Don't Say the F Word podcast. We are a pro wrestling and combat sports podcast where we do not use the F word when we talk about professional wrestling. You shouldn't let your friends use it either, and if they do, maybe they get a little... Nah, we're not going to say that. This episode is an awesome episode. I'm very happy to sit down with the person that we got to interview. Our title on this thing, Slap Happy. It's an interview with Power Slap League heavyweight fighter Duane Crespo. Duane is a heavyweight fighter in the Power Slap League. He's one of the best in the world at slap fighting. A very new combat sport hitting the mainstream. It debuts this Wednesday, January 17th on TBS. It's immediately following AEW Dynamite. So if you're checking out the Don't Say the F Word podcast, odds are likely you're a fan of AEW. You'll be tuning in, so just stick around after AEW for the debut of the Power Slap League. Check out a new combat sport. See what these athletes are doing. We got to talk to Duane. He talked about his journey in combat sports and what led him to the Power Slap League and how he uses his skills that he learned through a career in combat sports and MMA and kickboxing, and how he's using that to look to knock out his opponents in the Power Slap League. Guys, I'm recording this intro mobily in a Riverside studio straight from my phone. We aren't sponsored by Riverside, but we do our interviews and a lot of our podcast recording inside of Riverside Studios. This is an example of what you can do mobily if you're looking to start a podcast, or you want a good way to edit some videos that you do. Maybe you do a lot of things on TikTok, you make some reels for Instagram, whatever you do. Riverside's a great spot. We have an affiliate link. It gets us a little bit of kickback here on the podcast. Not much, but hey, maybe it'll help me pay for my Riverside. You can get started for free, no obligation, cancel things anytime. All that happy crap they always do for all this type of stuff. We want to give a shout out to our friends over at Reality Jiu-Jitsu. They have a great program in the UK where they help sponsor kids who are competing in grappling tournaments and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. They hook kids up with gear and some sponsorship things, help them take care of their training. Super cool thing those guys do. And big shout out to Alt Wrestling Tees. The team over there has been down with Don't Say the F Word podcast since day one. They have great pro wrestling t-shirts. They help partner with Flip Gordon to make one of his newest shirts that's available through them, and it's also available at Pro Wrestling Tees. So big shout out to those guys over there. And Flip Gordon will be on the podcast this week, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're down with the indie wrestlers and you wanted us to book Flip, we booked it. Thank you guys. No further ado, let's get slap happy with our interview with Power Slap League heavyweight Duane Crespo. What is up, everyone, and thank you for checking out the Don't Say the F Word podcast. We are a pro wrestling and combat sports podcast where we do not use the F word when we talk about professional wrestling. Today, we are very, very fortunate. We do have Duane Crespo from the Power Slap League debuting this week on TBS. Duane is here to talk to us about his career in combat sports and what he sees for the future. Duane, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for finding the time. I know being able to get on a podcast and talk to someone about things going on is always tricky with training and just life in general. So I do appreciate you being here. Mark the Monster Clementine is operating our soundboard behind us. He appreciates you joining us too. So Power Slap League debuts this week on TBS.
Yes, sir.
But this is not your first time competing in combat sports, correct?
No, I definitely have a big combat sports background.
So tell us a little bit about that. What have you done that precursors from Power Slap?
So I'm a professional kickboxer and professional MMA fighter. I've done some boxing and bare knuckle in the past, but I like to stay in that kickboxing boat. I've been doing that for about 7 years now. I turned pro 2 years ago. But yeah, I've been in the kickbox world for a while now.
Awesome, man. Where are you from? What's your hometown?
So I grew up in New Jersey. I bounced around a lot. But I grew up in New Jersey practically my whole life. Moved to Rochester when I was basically an adult, out of the military. and currently I'm in Hornell, New York, a small town where I train. And yeah, so I've been bouncing around a little bit.
Gotta love a small town.
It's very small.
Your time in the military, you're a retired military vet, correct?
Yes, sir.
What branch?
I was on Marine Corps.
Marine Corps? Whew. Thank you very much for your service. What years did you serve?
So I was only in for 2 years before getting medical discharge. It was 2014 and 2016, I believe.
That Marine Corps training, that boot camp, that gonna kind of internalize a lot of grit that would transcend into the world of combat sports and the training that you have to take part in. So you've done MMA, you've done bare knuckle, which, as we talked briefly a little bit yesterday, I love bare knuckle. I'm surprised at how much I love bare knuckle. To me, that sport is crazy. What was your take on your time in bare knuckle? How did you feel about it compared to the world of kickboxing?
Bare knuckle is wild. Like I had no reference for it when I was offered a fight, so I was like, yeah, it's probably similar. Just no gloves. Okay, why not? Even the atmosphere is different. Like everything going down about that sport is just wild. The people in the background, they have the same combat background as me basically, but it's a little different. I remember getting hit was fine, nothing like that bothered me. I actually have a scar on the top of my eye from the bare knuckle fights. But I got poked in the eye with the knuckle in my fight, and it messed me up, and that's just something you don't really think about happen, which is probably super common, but you got to be a different breed. I have plenty of friends that do it, and people I know like Tony Lopez and stuff. He's a monster, but I'm gonna let them do the bare knuckle game for sure.
It's funny that you mentioned those two things from your time in bare knuckle. I've had several guys from BKFC on the show, and in talking to Jeremy Pitbull Smith, he talked about the scars on his eyebrows because he was very fortunate. His scars looked like they were done by a barber. So he made the joke, these lines aren't from a barber. My barber didn't do these. I earned these in bare knuckle. And then Jacoby Lowry was just on, and his first BKFC fight got stopped. The doctor stopped it in between round 1 and 2 because he couldn't see out of his right eye. Mm-hmm. And whenever the fight happened, I couldn't figure out, I didn't understand why they stopped the fight. I had no clue what happened. I just seen he came out, he hugged his opponent. I'm like, what's going on? And it ended up that he took a knuckle to the eye. And when they first said that he couldn't see, I thought, well, it had to have been a thumb, a finger, because everyone watches UFC. We've all seen, guys end up poking each other in the eye. And a lot of that's the glove. The glove's designed, they're very stiff, they're kind of wonky. So it ends up not letting you have to work to keep your fist tight, as you know from your time in MMA. But in bare knuckle, I'm like, well, really, there's nothing helping you keep your tight fist other than you just keeping it clenched. Anyone who's done a combat sport, that tight fist, you fatigue your forearm if you keep it there. So I could see guys loosening it up and maybe catching someone. And Jacoby said no, it was just a knuckle, landed dead into his eyeball, and everything just went black on his right side. He couldn't see anything. So it's crazy that those two things happened to you.
Very similar to me. So very similar to me. This was right when the fight started too. It was a quick fight, unfortunately. For that same reason. The announcers didn't even know what happened. He threw a strike and it looked like it missed me, and it just grazed my eye, and I lost eyesight for a second in my eye, and it was painful, and I just went down. And looking back at the video, they're like, "Oh, he must not want to be in there," stuff like that. He doesn't want to do combat sport, stuff. I'm like, absolutely, I fight, man. That's what I love to do. I was I got poked in the eye by the weirdest situation. I didn't know what to expect. Then obviously, if I win again, I know that that's something that's probably going to happen if you keep your head up a little bit. But yeah, it was just a weird situation. I got my eyesight back 15 minutes later. I was crazy.
Yeah, I think that opinion from people who've never been in there, never experienced that, it means nothing. people who just love to talk. Because I go back at my time in martial arts, I can remember I was once holding Thai pads for a guy, and every strike he threw, everything was very light, so I wasn't really giving him a lot of resistance. And one time he just cracked a good one, and the Thai pad came back and it caught me in my eye, just the seam of it, and my eye was wrapped for days. Like it was watering. I couldn't really. I guess kind of conveniently for me, I'm almost blind in my right eye anyway, so it didn't really affect my ability to get through my day. But it kept watering. It was all swollen. It was red. I'm like, from the damn Thai bag just caught me just right. And like anyone who's never been in there, never gotten a good solid strike right to an open eyeball, their opinion don't matter. That shit's just nonsense. So
yeah, I mean, everywhere in my head is pretty fine, man. It's just that's the softest part there. Like you hit there, I'm probably going down. It's kind of why it's illegal on the sports in the first place.
Yeah, and it's kind of why it's the backbone to all, self-defense. Thumb a guy in the eye and you'll stop your attacker.
You've stopped me in my tracks for sure.
Yeah. So you got your combat sports background, and you have military background. You have all these things that help, for lack of a better term, fortify toughness. And then you get into the world of slap fighting. I will tell you, my first exposure to the world of slap fighting was a viral YouTube video of, I can't remember the athlete's name. All I know is it came up on one of my feeds somewhere, and it was a kid, tatted up face, against a guy who was probably bigger than me. I'm 280, 285, and this dude was just a husky boy, and he slapped the piss out of that kid. I'm like, this is sport. They're promoting this. And then I seen the Arnold Expo, I think it was last year. I think Jake Paul or Logan Paul?
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul was doing that, and I believe that was Slap Fighting Championship. I think that was the promotion, because as with every combat sport, there's different promotions. What brought you into that sport?
So funny enough, like on Facebook, there's these pages for pro fighters to find fights, these groups, and on one of them, there's a message saying, looking for athletes for this new combat sport, preferably professional fighters. We'll fly you out, we'll pay you. And I was like, messaged them. I was like, I could use the money, sure, why not? That's all they told me though. There's no really information on it. They flew me out, and that's when I found out that it was the UFC, it was powerslap. But I had no information other than I was going to Vegas to slap somebody for someone. Like that was it. That was all I had. They didn't tell me nothing. They didn't tell me who was it for, like anybody involved. I was like, let's just go. Let's try it out. Let's see what happens.
I mean, I gotta absolutely tip my hat to that marketing. You want to appeal to fighters? We're gonna put you on a plane, and we're gonna give you money. Most guys who fight are sign me up. Whatever it is I'm doing. Most guys would fight an alligator if the stipulation was you get a free plane ticket and you get some cash, and like they're in.
Yeah, especially like the small promotions for MMA, like they don't fly you out. Like you usually have to find your way there, and they'll pay you, but like you sometimes break even in these kind of things, when they said like they'll take care of everything and then I get paid, I'm like, I'm gonna get a profit from me doing this new sport, just trying out. Like I don't even have to like it if I don't like it. And so I was like all in, flew me out, and surprisingly enough, like I had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
I tell you what, it's certainly fun as a fan to watch it. I can only imagine, what it's like to compete in that. And I've had that conversation with a few people. I've talked to some bare knuckle guys about it. I've talked to some MMA guys, just some friends of mine, and just people in general. Because I think there's a very big misconception of what the sport is. Some people are very not for it. Some people don't fully understand it. And so there is a rule set for power slap. You guys have weight classes versus the very first video I ever seen where it was a guy at least double the other guy's weight.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely weight classes in there. like MMA, exactly the same weight classes. But yeah, there's definitely structure. There's a rule set. There's things I can and can't do. And I'll say what's different is like from other slap leagues, they have more rounds. There's only 3 rounds in power slap. You have to make your mark in a short period of time, you know. And then there's way more rule sets and way more penalties. So like you have to be good, or you're gonna be losing these fights, you know.
And a lot of those penalties fall on kind of accuracy of your slap and you kind of eating that slap also, correct?
Yep. So yeah, they take points off for clubbing, which is just hitting in the wrong spot. And then they could take a point away from flinching, which is just like tensing up or just moving out of the way. But they usually warn that first. But yeah, if you get these points taken away in a 3-round fight, like in MMA, you lost your fight. There's no way, you have to knock out your opponent. It's the same here. Like you have 3 slaps, and if you miss once and they take a point away, you're like, how do I win this fight? I have to knock out my guy. I have to hope he misses, you know, like it's weird. So the people that are doing well are very skilled, you know.
So you mentioned the flinching penalty. So flinching would be, you know, you're about to get hit, which for power slap, somebody has to get hit first. How is that determined? What determines whether you're starting off slapper or slappy?
Coin flip. So the day before on weigh-ins, they bring both fighters in and they flip a coin to see who wants to go first, and you could decide if you want to go first or you want to take a hit first, and it's really just up to you. That's it. Just a coin flip in the beginning, and then from there, piggyback.
So I know we can't disclose a whole lot about the show. So my question is, what is your go-to in a coin flip? Do you go whatever you're thinking of, or do you have a strategy? Are you a tails never fails kind of guy, or are you going heads?
So they do a traditional, like the NFL coin flips where it's like, well, red or blue side. So they do red corner, blue corner. You flip it over, it tells you who won. So if I'm red corner and you see that red coin on the top, you're like, okay, cool. But as for like strategy off the coin toss, I like going first. Like I like hitting first, making a mark. So
yeah, so I did combat sports. I did MMA. I used to coach guys. I would corner guys, and my advice, whether we were doing something sanctioned, something unsanctioned, something amateur in Ohio, whatever it may have been, if I was cornering you, if I was advising you, my advice to everyone was always be first. Always make contact first. If it was one of my guys who was a very strong grappler, shoot first. Fire that first shot. Go for that takedown before he ever gets an opportunity. Striker, land that punch first. Because to me, mentally, that's your advantage. You already touched him. You're there. To know that you are getting touched first. And for me, the mentality of that, when it comes to power slap, comes to slap fighting, mentally, what's the preparation for that? So you went to Vegas, no idea what the sport was going to be. When someone told you, hey, listen, you're going to stand across from another competitor, another athlete, one of you gets slapped first, and you're going to stand there, and if it's you're eating a slap, and then we're going to move forward to your opportunity. What was your first thought when they said you're getting slapped and you're not putting your hands up, you're just taking it?
So like when you do the research for the slap fight, you realize it, and you're like, okay, sure, like we'll see what's going on. And funny thing, in the kickboxing world, it's the same thing. Like be first, be last. Try to not get hit or get hit in a safe way in return, you know. And then technically in this sport, I am leaving my chin out for someone to hit in their most powerful strike that they can throw right now. And so the mindset going in is kind of like what will save you in the defense side of the sport, along with some, like, you know, technique, whatever. But I believe you have to trust yourself more than the abilities of your opponent. So if I ever thought like, hey, he hits too hard, and then I'm thinking that way, I'm probably gonna start flinching and moving and putting myself in a bad position. But if I truly believe that my abilities are more than his strike, I'm gonna be calm. I'm gonna be in a good position because I trust myself more than, you know, like the guy in front of me. So I think it's the years of my combat training that I know what I'm capable of. So I'm just like, I think we're gonna be fine. If I don't think that way, I'm probably gonna get knocked out. So I gotta be like, I'm good. I know what I'm capable of. You don't hit that hard, we're fine. You know.
What are those nerves like whenever you're up there waiting and you know it's coming, and you guys? So power slap, you get warm ups, correct? I've seen the clips leading up to this week, and so they have a warm up approach to when they're going to connect, right? And how does that work?
So in other slap leagues, they usually hit on 3. That you wind up 1, 2, and you connect on a 3rd slap. We have the ability to choose when we want to hit. We just have to say it ahead of time, and then we can use both hands as well. So I would have to go up to the table, look at the ref, and be like right hand on 3, which means I want to go on 3rd. But I could be like right on 1, right on 2, left on 2, and I could like mix it up. But as for like the anticipation of like getting the slap, like I have more anxiety in the boxing and MMA world than I had in the slap world. I feel so calm. Yeah, I don't know, something about it. Like I feel so calm, especially now doing it. I have nothing to worry about. You know, like I feel like I'm fine. And there's gonna be a point where there's gonna be another person in front of me that's probably equal to skill as me, and you know, and just like and really terrify me. But like right now, like I feel like I'm level headed at the moment. I have no anxiety going into these fights right now. But MMA world, like I know in the back, your coach is like doing everything he possibly can to be like, calm down. Like as a coach too, I'm the same way. Like you see everybody freaking out in MMA, but like I go do that for some reason. I'm just it's golden. It's weird, but
yeah, I think about my time competing. I think about like the anxiety I would have, and at times I would know it was there, but not address it. It just headphones in, mouthpiece in, jumping rope, waiting to be told it's time to go out. But everything leading up to that, like for me, the weigh-ins were a lot of anxiety because there's always that. What if somehow every scale I've encountered in the last 3 days was somehow way off, and I'm off weight? And then it's
absolutely.
You know, have I rehydrated properly? Did I eat too much now that I got off the scale? Am I gonna feel lethargic? There's all those things up to it. But remember, in the cage, you're ready to go. Okay, cool. This is what I've trained for. I'm good to go. And then I think about like what it must have been to embark upon a new sport and where I would be, and to hear that you were cool and calm, and like that's to me amazing. Like that's a mental toughness that I don't think everyone has.
No, I will say that I see like so you obviously in these rooms, the weight rooms and stuff, you see them do face-offs. In this sport for power slap, I see people way more anxious on weigh-in day than I normally see on weigh-in day. Weigh-in day is usually a fun day, like usually calm, like for the fighters, you know, like especially when you weigh in, you're like, I'm good to go. But I see like these guys, these fighters, their eyes, they're almost like checked out, and I realize that it's the coin toss. Like the day before, you get to know your fate. You get to know if you're getting hit first or are you doing the first one, so you can see like the people's mindsets when at that moment of like I have 24 hours to talk myself up or something like that. So I saw them way more anxious usually than the day before than the day of, which I thought was weird. But now thinking about it, I'm like it's definitely the coin toss, you know.
Man, I get it. I totally get how the coin toss could be the thing that's just the thing that kind of screws with your head and kind of messes with your anxiety, because That's your unknown variable. You can't train the coin toss. That's just fate. That's just whatever that's going to be, and you can't change it. Prior to power slap and combat sports, had you been KO'd? You suffered a knockout at all?
No, not even in combat sports. I've been TKO'd in obviously MMA, but yeah, not really. I've never been knocked out. Not in. I played football, basketball. No crazy injuries, and I like to keep that way. Like, you know, just,
I'm gonna knock on wood for you too, my friend, because I've been there.
The sports world is superstitious. The sports world is superstitious. So,
yeah,
like for sure.
Yeah, I have been in those moments where time has passed me by and I was not aware, and it's not a fun time. And you see so many. They show the highlights from Power Slap. You see them on Instagram, YouTube, and the UFC's done a great job partnering with Power Slap and promoting the league. And you see a lot of people just getting starched out, and I was all my head immediately went, because I don't even know how many concussions I've had at times that we're in the gym where getting rocked, bite down your mouthpiece, and you keep sparring, you do things that aren't really great for the brain. And I'm like, I wonder how many people went into this and they had already punched their KO card too many times. Like, I look at the brain getting knocked out. It's like getting a sub card for your favorite deli. And you only get so many punches on that thing. How many people got into this sport and they've already been knocked out 3-4 times in a combat sports career? It's like, man, knowing you're getting slapped, at times you're going to be the first one getting slapped. If you've been knocked out a bunch of times, this probably isn't your sport.
Yeah, I definitely have seen a lot of people who have hit that card, that punch out card, and you could tell, and it's like a matter of time. Like the chin fades away, and that's why people always ask me, like, "Hey, what do you do for the training for your chin?" I'm like, absolutely nothing technically. Like I'm not taking shots. I'm not going to add to that punch card. You know, like. My time's out. Like, I do my regular training from MMA. If I'm sparring, I do sparring, but there's nothing crazy, and just putting myself in a good position, you know. So like, I don't want to run out on that, you know, that knockout card where in practice I'm taking 12 slaps, and next thing you know, that 13th one on TV is when I go to sleep. You're like, so I'm so smart about it. Like, I'm just trying to like bring my knowledge of my other sports into this, and I'm trying to do the best I can.
Yeah, I see the videos that you've had up on Instagram, and I see the training and the technique where you're up against the pad and how everything's coming from your feet up through your hips, and you're channeling that. And you know, the old, like you said, sports has superstition. The old martial arts thing is train something 10,000 times for it to be a habit. How many slaps would you say you've thrown in training since being exposed to the Power Slap League and things getting up and running? What's your training regimen like? I know you stick to MMA, but where do you bring in that technique? Because it looks picture perfect. Like,
yeah, thank you. So I'll say before, so the video that's posted everywhere, I had no training before that, but after doing it, you start to know what it feels like. Before that March event, I didn't train at all. I didn't practice at all. I didn't want to do that at all. I was like, I don't know the sport enough to give an idea right now. I was like, after I do it, I'll have an idea, and then we can work with it. So people's faults in this sport, especially the pro fighters, we do hit harder than the other people that you see, like the slap fight game, but we turn our foot. Like, you're taught your whole entire fight career to turn the foot that you are punching on, and so like you see a lot of them, they fall because they can't break the habit. So what I did is the crazy amount of reps, but treating this sport like a new technique. Like, you learn a new technique for the first time, you're really trying to break in the concept of like doing it. Like, okay, this is how you do a question mark kick. I'm gonna take my time and then figure out how to do it perfectly. It's different from my regular kick. And so I'm not thinking of it as a punch. I'm thinking of a whole new technique where I have to keep my feet planted. Like, I can't turn, and I'm thinking of it the whole entire time. And I shift my weight from loaded to top side to help. And then from there, reps till it's normal. especially till it's like the power slap game is accuracy is the only way you're gonna win, like, because there's too many fouls. So I have to make sure I'm accurate by repping it out. I can't just do 10 and be like, oh, that was good, and then expect to win a fight. Like, no, I'm gonna do 1,000 and make sure I count the ones that only hit the target perfectly. I'm not gonna do 1,000 bad ones. They have to be 1,000 perfect. And then, like, all right, now I have a good slap. I have a good technique. We're probably gonna do okay, you know.
That's a super intelligent approach to it. That's taking that martial arts background and applying it into this, and it's just a smart way to approach the training for it to ensure that accuracy. And I think the addition of the penalties and the faults will really are going to make this more captivating to watch as a fan, because it's you got to land just right. You can't be in no man's land. And I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue there of how these fights go. The season for Power Slap League, how many weeks is the league competing for a season?
So the show is 8 weeks. We're down there for a little bit filming, and they're going to show 8 weeks leading up to a live pay-per-view event. So it's just to get to know the people that are involved, like the Ultimate Fighter. So we've done that all. Now we're just waiting to see the results of the TV show, you know. But yeah, it's all building up right now.
That's awesome, man. I wish you the best of luck in the world of Power Slap. I think you're an intelligent man, an intelligent fighter, and I really think that, you know, I really love the evolution in combat sports, and I love that, you know, everything led to the UFC in '93, and after the peak in the UFC and everything became mainstream, I love the evolution in power and combat sports since then, because we've seen so many things take off. We've seen bare knuckle take off. We've seen submission grappling take off in a realm of entertainment and being produced in a way that is very appealing to a fan base. Like, I think it's, you know, you go back and nobody used to watch jiu-jitsu tournaments. No one used to watch catch wrestling tournaments. And now it's being produced in a way where it's intrigued fans. And the UFC has helped educate people in the world of grappling. And I think that now power slap and slap fighting is an evolution of combat sports. And I think that it's really going to bring a lot of people in. I think being on TBS is going to help bring people in and people more casual. I think it's from everything that they're showing, it seems to be produced very well to really showcase you guys as athletes and let everyone get to know you, like you said, with the show, and really show a level of technique and a skill set that I think is going to surprise a lot of people who may not know about the sport.
So to piggyback on that, like, so everybody that talks about it, you see the comments and people go crazy, and they're like, they don't really watch it. They're just like saying their 2 cents now that there's no skill, there's just brain injury, whatever. Anybody could do this, and I'm like, 2 things. It's such a new sport where anybody could probably join at the moment, for right now. But you're gonna lose. You're not winning. You're not getting your hand raised. There's no way you're gonna get your hand raised. So there is skill into this, and you're gonna notice, like, people are gonna start to get cycled out. Like, the UFC is such a big organization that they have the top fighters. They're doing the same thing in the slap world, that people, you lose 2 to 3 times, you're probably not getting invited back.
Right. And
there's gonna be a point where everybody in the league is going to be those amazing elite guys, and people are just gonna be like, oh, it's still easy. It's still easy to be accurate. Like, I've seen people train like crazy, and they're these amazing fighters, and I tell them, like, I hit this pad in the same spot 10 times in a row, go, and they miss, and then they turn their feet and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And I was like, you're trying to hit as hard as you possibly can and be accurate. Like, that alone is going to give people a hard time, you know? So, like, we're going to see a lot of people cycle out, and then eventually, probably in a year's time, we're going to see this league of just people that don't get knocked out and people that knock people out like amazing, and just like,
yeah, it's
what do we got here?
A year from now,
I
guess Killer's Row, it'll just be people just designed to murk somebody against a brick wall that isn't going to get murked.
It's crazy. And there's a couple people like you can see on the show. They're really good. But I like to say to the people that just hey, this is not a sport with skill. Okay, watch me. Like, come watch me, and then let you start to change your mind a little bit.
For sure, there's definitely skill. You see people in the comments of everything who will tear things apart, and like you said, it's evolution. A year from now, people will weed out. I reference back to the old days of mixed martial arts. There was a point in time,
old UFC,
where you could be someone who was very, very good in one skill set and at an elementary level and everything else, and you could be in the UFC. Now you better be an elite athlete if you ever think you're going into the UFC. Like, I always tell people, whenever I was doing MMA and I was doing shoot fighting and I was competing, a guy like me who's good in an art and great at catch wrestling, and I could have gotten there, and then everything changed. It was about these people were superior athletes. I'm no world-class athlete, and I'm never ever gonna be.
People get cycled out.
Yep, and it's like
people get cycled
out. The sport
out.
evolved, and it moved past my ability level. And I think you will see that with power slap. Yeah, everyone can slap, but everyone can punch too. You look at
play basketball. Every person could play basketball. It's the easiest sport in the world, but no one's going to be LeBron James.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be certain people that are just better than others. Like, the concept of the sport is so simple, but there's going to be people that take it and run with it. And that's exciting to see,
Yeah.
Like, and to be a part of it is kind of cool too.
And to be a part of it in its infancy too. Like, you guys we're going to be part of this show. You athletes are going to be looked at as the pioneers of this sport. As it grows, as it evolves, as things cycle out, and of course, as things end up changing and you end up progressing, and you guys will be in the forefront of all that. And I think that's a very, very impressive to be part of. And I think it's very captivating. A lot of people who are MMA fans weren't watching in '93. They weren't me as a kid in my uncle's living room watching this, thinking that this is the weirdest WWF event I've ever seen. Nothing makes any sense. Where's Hulk Hogan? But I think that people are going to get an opportunity to see on TBS that it's a very unique thing to see a sport be born. It exists, but not at this level. Not with backing, not with sanctioning in Nevada. Not with
Dana White.
That ability to promote and make things as safe as a combat sport can be. And I think that's where people kind of get things twisted. You see the comments, people are like, oh, well, the brain trauma and all this, but we still let high school kids play football. There's risk in everything.
There's way more concussions in football.
Yeah, and there's risk involved in everything, and people know it. You know what you're getting into, and it's designed in a way that's controlled. Like I said, my very first exposure to it was a guy twice the size of his opponent knocking him into another realm. Yeah. Those things are eliminated for you guys.
They're never going to give me someone that's not my weight. They're not going to do it. They're actually, like, even in the lighter weight classes, they're making sure that it's within a certain amount. So, like, a 170 fighter, he can't fight 160. He has to be 161. He has to be within 9 pounds, like MMA. So
that's
it's like
awesome.
they're really, hats off to the Nevada Commission. Like, they're really, like, making sure people are safe. And yeah, it can be annoying to fighters. Fighters always want to fight, but like I said, we're doing this in a safe way, and it's going to show a lot of people that this is a sport. There is people that are going to be better than other people. Like, if it wasn't a sport, anybody could win. Like, it ain't the case, So there's definitely a market here. There's skilled athletes, man, and just like I said, I've never had so much fun. I had so much fun in this more than my MMA kickboxing. I had way more fun as a spectator than watching MMA or kickboxing. Like, it's weird. this is I've grown to love this sport.
That's
and
awesome.
It's been so new, so it's crazy to be a part of the pioneers, you know. And like talking about like how people got cycled out of UFC. I used to say it all the time. People are like, oh, why aren't you like UFC? I was like, I am an amazing kickboxer. That's it. Like, you take me to the ground in MMA, you know, like I'm good at wrestling, but not that level.
Right.
I like to have me here in kickboxing. I think I'm right here in like wrestling, you know, like better than some people, but definitely not to hold my own.
Yeah.
So, and then now in this new sport, I'm on the top of the level trying to figure out how to stay there, you know, because I don't want to get cycled out either. So,
Right.
yeah.
So
You know?
you talked a little bit about, you know, they're not going to have you against a smaller guy. You are the Iron Giant. You are a heavyweight competitor. What are your stats? What height, weight? Where are you at?
So I'm 6'2" and I'm 260. So I'm on the higher end of the heavyweight weight class. It's between 206 and 266. So I'm on the high range. Yeah, like it's the same as MMA. I'm usually the bigger guy of the people I face. I've faced some big dudes too, but usually I'm on the bigger end.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I'm very excited to see you compete this week. And again, the debut is this Wednesday?
This Wednesday, right after
Yeah,
AEW.
right after AEW Dynamite. So plenty of my listeners will be tuning into AEW Dynamite, as I will be. And immediately following, it will be the premiere of the Power Slap League. And you will be on first episode?
Yeah, most likely. I imagine they're gonna show the past event, and then they're gonna show people, like getting like into the house. So I imagine I'll be in that episode.
That's awesome, Duane, man.
Hopefully, like I said, I'm watching for the first time. I don't know anything about it, so like I know what I did over there. I just can't talk about what I did. But now in the show, what do they do with the team?
Yeah, you never know what will happen in editing and how things will get pieced together to make a compelling program for everybody. Mm-hmm. You have any shout outs? Anybody you want to give a shout out to here on the show?
I'd like to shout out my gym, Vicious Elite Kickboxing out in Hornell, New York. And then as for always, man, I support to my friends and family, my girlfriend and all. You know, they're sticking behind me. In the combat world, you usually have nobody. You're lonely.
It's a very lonely sport. Very, very lonely sport. A lot of young dudes who get into combat sports don't realize how lonely it can be.
So I'm glad that I have this support system, especially now that we are considered like the top of the world in this sport. So it's really cool to feel like you made it for once. Like I've been grinding for a long time, so it's really cool to see these. Obviously, my girlfriend, my family support me, and then my gym family, my coach. Shout out to Coach Haas out of Vicious Elite. He supported me as well, and so it's really cool to see a support system now, you know.
All right, man. I appreciate your time today. Everyone tuning in, please go on Instagram, check out Duane Iron Giant Crespo. I will have some links to his social medias up here in the description. I will have some QR codes you can just scan somewhere around, probably right here, maybe, that you can scan, and you can bring it right to him and give him a follow and check him out as he progresses in the world of Power Slap. It premieres this Wednesday, immediately following AEW Dynamite. I'm confident that if you're checking us out at Don't Say the F Word podcast, you're watching AEW Dynamite this week. So stick around after that show, and you can check out the Power Slap League. Again, guys, this is Jeremy, Mark the Monster Clementine, and Duane Iron Giant Crespo. We are Don't Say the F Word podcast. Don't let your friends say the F word either. Thank you, guys.